Hey, everybody. Tom couldn't be with us this week. He'll be back next week. He's making money, but he's going to call in. We've had a really exciting day here. We'll talk about this on the show when we roll in a few minutes, but there was a fire. No one was hurt. No animals were harmed, but the house across from this very studio.
Well, there was a dog in there, but they saved it.
They saved the dog. But get this. Our power was fluctuating while we were recording an interview with a special guest star we're going to have on this very show. You won't hear it. You'll have to check out the audio on the podcast itself because Al's going to insert it later. But we have a very special phone interview. And today we're going to be talking about Superstation 17, a little bit about Ted Turner. That's what it's about, to give you a hint on who our special guest is. And I'll reveal that when we get rolling on the show. But man, Al, like this, the power was flickering on and off. So Al says, let's go out there and see what's going on. It might be the wind or a branch on the power line. And we go outside and Al's like, oh my God, is that smoke coming out of the roof at the house across the street? And I said, yes, it is. I said, call 911. Al did. And I'll tell you, the fire department got out here within what, 2 minutes?
They got here in about
5 minutes?
About 6 minutes. Yeah, they were quick. They were quick.
Gwinnett County Fire Rescue did a great job. And the house did not burn to the ground.
They just got a lot of smoke and probably water damage.
No one was home, but
was home, yeah.
it's people renting the house. We're friends with the previous owner, Norm, who's Al's known for years and years and years.
Right.
But anyway, so it's just going to be Al and I and our special guest, and then Tom's going to call in. So in a moment, we'll get started on the show.
Let me fix this right here. Hang on a second.
And thanks for tuning in last week. We didn't do a video. We had technical difficulties last week on our show about music. We're going to do a follow-up show about music when Tom is here, because Tom has a lot to add to the topic of our favorite music, record albums, concerts. I'm sure he's recorded professionally a lot of concerts on video. So it'll be cool to hear what Tom's got to say. What you doing, Al Hardy?
I'm just logging in on this computer. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Of course it is. I mean, there were so many bands last week in PodBlast Sweet 16 that we didn't mention, like, you know, Billy Squier, ones that I like, Guns N' Roses, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, Clapton, Van Halen. But I want to do a show when we talk about music part 2. Right. I will segue into music videos, and I'll talk about my favorite music videos, and we'll take calls and have callers talk about.
We didn't touch on country music, really.
We really didn't. We really left out so much. I mean, in an hour and a half or an hour, there's only so much you can cover. I mean, hell, we could talk for a whole week about music. Even a month. It's a vast subject. Oh man. Frank Zappa's another goodie that I omitted. Sebastian Bach, and like weird one-hit wonders like Rico Suave. Anyway, Al's probably going, who the hell are you talking about?
I didn't know you like classical music.
Goodie that I omitted. What the hell is that?
Oh, that was playback.
Okay.
You know, Facebook is a little bit delayed. That's okay.
Ow. Ooh, did you hear that?
What the hell did you do?
My knuckle hit the mic. I was taking a swig of cheer wine.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Oh, okay.
Let me know when we're rolling on the real show. And you asked me our standard question.
Well, you shut up.
All right.
Hey, Chance.
Yes. Al Hardy.
Do you know what time it is?
It's PodBlast time!
What happened?
Oh, dear. Take 2. Start over. Start the whole thing over. Delete. We'd never make it in live radio. But we have some big, exciting news, but we can't talk about it.
Hey, Chance, what time is it?
Take 2. Say it again.
Hey, Chance, you know what time it is?
Yes, Al Hardy. It's PodBlast time!
There's something going on here. Hang on.
Did I screw up your Adobe program when I was messing around the computer?
You could have.
Hey, out there in Facebook land, I'm sure everyone's watching the big championship pro football games right now. I like that take, the way you said. We asked the question now. It's too bad we have to start all over again and check the scores.
Hang on, folks.
Audience.
I guess all the excitement screwed things up. I don't know.
For me, Al.
Hey, Chance.
Yo.
You know what time it is?
Yes, it's PodBlast time.
Well, Chance, it's another Sunday. Welcome.
Welcome, Al. It's been an exciting day. Oh my gosh. Before I talk about our subject, we've got to let our audience know about the drama that just happened across the street from this very studio. No one got hurt. No animals were harmed.
What happened was we did an interview with a friend of ours, and we finished the interview. But during the interview, for some reason, the lights were flickering. We never lost power here, but the lights flickered. I don't know what was going on. I figured maybe it's windy here today and very cold. And I figured that, you know, it's maybe the wind is knocking against the power lines and causing the problems.
Right.
So I went outside, and lo and behold, I looked across the street, and the house across the street had all of this smoke coming from
bellowing out
from the roof. I says, "Oh my God, there's a house! The house is on fire!" And so I had my phone, so I called 911.
I said, "Call 911, Al. It's an emergency."
I called 911. They answered right away, and I said, "Look," and I said, "There's a fire across the street from me at the house," and I gave the street number and everything. And she says, "I have the fire department on the way."
Gwinnett County Fire
Department. And they were actually here within probably 6 minutes. They were quick.
Very fast response time. This is in Gwinnett County, Georgia,
and
in the Lawrenceville-Lilburn area, if anyone knows the state of Georgia.
They were quick. And you got to hand it to Fire and Rescue. I mean, those guys really earn a paycheck. And, you know, that's something we pay taxes for that I don't mind paying taxes for.
4 fire trucks. And the cool thing, Al, no one was hurt. No animals were harmed, but there was a dog in there.
There was a dog in there. I didn't well, the guy that
dog.
lived there actually came down and talked to me. And I said, "Did you have any pets?" He says, "Yeah, I have one dog that's in there." I said, "Oh my goodness." And so apparently they got the dog out because they had this stretcher out there, and they had the little dog on this thing, and
with oxygen.
Yeah, and they had oxygen on him. So I think they saved the dog, which is really, they try to do that. You know, they try to save people's animals.
Good
I mean,
for them.
Forget your TV set, your stereo, your furniture, that could be replaced. But a pet, if you lose a pet, you've lost a pet. You can't replace it.
This is true. And an interesting thing also is you've been in this house since 1988, and you've never seen the fire hydrant. He has a fire hydrant in his front yard, like at the top of his driveway.
Well, the fire hydrant is located at the top of my driveway, but
across
it's
from
on
the
my
mailbox.
property. And I actually get a break on my insurance because of that. You know, not a lot, but I do. But I've never seen them use that fire hydrant.
They busted that thing open and
Oh,
the
yeah.
hose on that fire, and they put it out.
And they were quick. They were fast.
The fire was in the back of the house, so it was
It was
probably
in the back of the
started in
house.
kitchen.
Probably because the kitchen in that house is in the back of the house, and I think that's where the fire started.
And there's a photo on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page, by the way, is Nostalgic PodBlast. And PodBlast is one word, not two. Our logo has 2 for PodBlast. It's just one word. And there's pictures, and we did a Facebook Live video on your personal Facebook page, but it was pretty exciting.
Well, I actually talked to the guy, one of the guys that lived there, and he came down, we were talking, and he had just left the house, he said, to go watch the football game with some friends.
Yeah, NFL playoffs.
And, you know, down the street, and, and he saw this smoke. He didn't know what was going on, so he came out. And a friend of mine who used to live across the street, Andrew, he grew up there. I knew Andrew when he was born, and he's like 29, 30 years old now. But anyway, he was down the street visiting Clayton, a friend of his. And so they came walking up, and I was talking to Andrew as he was watching the house he grew up in burn.
And that's sad. It's
sad.
sad, man. But
they sold the house, 4 years ago, I think so. They moved, and they sold the house.
But wasn't Norm living there for a while after he sold it or something?
I remember. Yeah, for a short period of time until he moved out. But I've known the Barnum family since I've lived here.
Yeah,
I moved here in 1988. I think they moved to there in 1990. So I watched all their kids grow up. I knew them all.
So anyway, when they
were babies.
We had a front row seat to Live Rescue on A&E.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
I mean, these guys went into action. They're heroes. Samantha Livingston always said I should be a fireman because I'm quick. Anyway, my long time.
But you're too short to be a fireman.
No, actually, you can be short, tall.
Joking.
The cool thing about being a fireman, height really doesn't have anything to do with it. But getting back on track on our subject matter today, this is our 17th PodBlast. So what I was wanting to do was do a tribute show to my favorite television station of all time, Superstation WTCG, which became WTBS, that Ted Turner founded and bought in 1970, where Al and Tom worked for many years. That's how they got to know each other. And then we have a very special guest that Al talked about, Mr. Bill Tush, will be on the show later today.
I've known Bill. I started working at Channel 17, Turner. It was then WTCG in 1976. And so I worked there until 1991. But when I started working at Turner, they were on West Peachtree Street downtown up under their big
in Atlanta.
Tower. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just walked in off the street because I had worked in television before in North Carolina. And so I said, need any help? They hired me the same day.
Those are the good old days, man.
Back then, there was like 63 people on payroll at Channel 17.
They didn't do a background check or anything? I mean, not that you had anything to hide, but come on in, man.
But
fill out an application.
But I tell you, it turned out to be the best job I ever had. Because Channel 17, they ran all these old movies and old TV shows, and I was just in hog heaven. And I really enjoyed working there. And Bill Tush was one of the first people I met when I started working there.
I'm a big fan of Bill Tush. To me, along with Ted Turner, he is the face of the old Superstation 17, at least in my mind.
Well, that's true. And Bill's been a friend, and he still lives here in Atlanta. And of course, he went on later to work at CNN. He was an entertainment editor over there. But because I was there when Ted started CNN.
That was 1980, right?
I was on the ground floor. In fact, if you go to YouTube, when Ted launched CNN, I'm sitting on the front row.
Wow.
I said, we just all walked. There was a big meeting and everything. It was kind of cool. And
for someone in my generation, we all remember Superstation 17. If you didn't have cable, it was the best station to watch movies. And I loved how on Sunday, locally, it would be the only station that didn't have religious programming. They would play Lost in Space and Hazel and great cartoons, the old Tex Ritter cartoons, the MGM cartoons. I love Droopy. I love Tom and Jerry, all that stuff. And the film library. And the cool thing that you and Tom had access to borrow all of those great films and programs.
Well, not so much Tom. He worked upstairs in the production department. But I worked in the film department, and I was a switcher. You know what a switcher is?
No, I don't.
They control everything that goes on the air. It's just like a big console, like in radio. But we had a projection room with film projectors and VTRs, videotape recorders and stuff. And everything was, had to be loaded and processed. And I punched the button to put it on the air. But anyway, I did that, 3 days a week. And then I worked in the film department the other 2 days a week.
That's so cool.
But, we had multiple jobs. And I was a film collector. Yes, we were in hog heaven because then Channel 17 library and all those films. We had a massive library.
And you had at one time all of the I Dream of Genies, all of the Lost in Space.
We won't go there.
I will say this. This isn't anything of getting you in trouble. You had all of the Space Giants episodes that I've talked about in previous PodBlasts, like our Christmas show and our toy. And I loved that show would come on like 4 p.m. after school, right before Flintstones, and I watched it every day.
Well, what happened was later on when film, digital tape came into being and everything transferred from film to tape, and films are no longer used. But
correct. That's how they would show reruns, was literally with the projector and film before it switched to
I was at
videotape.
I was at the Turner place, it's been some years ago, but now everything like Turner Classic Movies, Cartoon Network, even TBS, all of that stuff is run by computers.
Right.
And they have
automation.
They have these giant servers that everything is loaded on a computer, and it's done like radio with an automation system. It's just pre-programmed. There's nobody punching buttons that I used to do. It's all done automatically by automation.
Yeah. And we don't want to have this to be like an A&E biography of Ted Turner, but I will say this, just some basic background on Ted Turner. He was born November 19th, 1938. The same year Superman was born in the comics, and Ted Turner was a real life Superman. He changed the world.
Well, he's the reason we have MeTV, we have Antenna TV, we have Comet TV, we have Light TV, we have the Movie Channel.
Decades
Channel, all of that stuff.
And before that, Nick at Night and TV Land.
Right. Well, Ted was the first person to put all of that stuff on satellite and distribute it.
He was a genius, and he got it cheap, inexpensive programming.
I know we had the series My Little Margie. You might not remember that, but I used to love that.
I've heard of it, and I've never seen it. But Ted Turner was born Robert Edward Turner III, and his dad made money in the outdoor billboard business. And so, what I like about Turner is, of course, 17, best station of all time. Now it's not so great. The only thing I watch on it now is Conan O'Brien.
Well, he also owned a TV station in Charlotte. WRET, Channel 36.
And tell us the original call letters of WTCG.
WJRJ.
Very cool.
When he bought the station, it was WJRJ, and they changed it to WTCG. Now, I think it stands for Turner Communications Group, but
according to Wikipedia, it stands for We're Gonna Grow. It's so, I don't believe that.
They always told me Turner Communications Group, and the station in Charlotte, WRET, Robert E. Turner was his initials. That's where those call letters came from. And we shared programming with them. In other words, we bicycled shows between the two stations. But Atlanta, we kept everything in the library here, but we would share shows with them, and we used to ship stuff to them, tapes and films to them to run, and then they'd send them back.
We got a question for you, Al. So which came first? And I know the answer, but I just want to hear what you say about this, and you'll know too. Which came first, WTCG, the Superstation, beamed across the world and across the country on cable and on satellite, or WGN Chicago or WR New York, which were similar nationally broadcast cable networks that were local stations? I think Ted Turner
Ted was the first
that.
person to do that.
Correct.
He was the very first.
I just want to make sure that I'm correct in that. But I always liked 17 much better than WGN Chicago. I mean, but GN was kind of a ripoff. They would have the Cubs games. Channel 17 had the Braves games. In fact, Ted Turner
Ted bought the Braves
in 1976 and the Atlanta Hawks basketball team.
And he also bought you're right, the Hawks. And he carried all the Braves games, and when he bought them, and then he would rerun the games in the overnight hours, just in case people on the West Coast didn't see it because they were 3 hours behind us.
Yeah, at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, that's where the Braves played in downtown Atlanta back in those days. Before it was Turner Field, named after Ted Turner.
Well, Turner Field came about after the Olympics were here.
That's right, because that stadium was built for the 1996 Atlanta
And then
Olympics.
when the Olympics went away, they changed it to Turner Field. And now Turner Field is no more. It's owned by Georgia Tech. The ballpark.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech bought it. But, and then the Braves moved out to
Cobb County, Georgia,
where you live.
Yeah, and it was named SunTrust Park, and now they've renamed it Truist Park because of a bank merger with BB&T and SunTrust. It's a terrible name.
Suck? That's terrible.
TRUIST, and the logo looks like trash. It's a terrible
They should have
logo.
just kept SunTrust. But, they go after the money, sponsorship. That's what they do. You can't blame them. It's all about money anyway.
No, absolutely. So, all right. So 17, I don't want to go on and on about it, but they just had the best programming, the best classic movies, the best cartoons, the best syndicated television shows of all time. Eventually, as Turner grew, he launched another network, TNT.
The first movie they ran on TNT was Gone with the Wind, because that's Ted's favorite movie. I remember when I was a switcher there, I was working one morning. I went in at 7 in the morning, and so Gene Wright was engineer. Bless his heart, he's passed away now. But anyway, he came down with a film print of Gone with the Wind in 16 millimeter. And he says, "Can you transfer this to VHS tape for Ted?" And they had a VHS recorder pipe, hooked up to the projectors. And I said, "Sure." So while we were running stuff on the air, on the audition side of it, we were running on the other projectors, Gone with the Wind, and we transferred it to videotape for him because and then we transferred and sent the print back. But that's his favorite movie.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And in fact, he's got a son named Rhett Turner after Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. And if you notice, Ted Turner has the little mustache like Clark Gable, like Clark Gable. That's his all-time favorite movie. Anyway, and then that led to him buying MGM. Remember, he bought MGM in
MGM library.
He bought him in 86, I do believe. I think it was. He bought the library, and he needed that for programming.
And he would run Outer Limits from that library. He would run Chips episodes on TNT.
Well, anything produced, it was owned by MGM. He owned.
Right.
And we ran Gilligan's Island. Did we run Chips? I don't think we did.
They did on TBS and TNT in the early 90s.
I just don't remember.
It was in the early 1990s to like 93
right.
or
so. He bought the library to get programming. And so that created Turner Entertainment Company out in Culver City. And so, but he owned that for a long time. And it also, Ted Turner also down at CNN Center, where CNN ended up being. Remember, there was a movie theater down there, 6 cinemas down there.
I think it's still there, is it not?
No, they tore them out a long time ago.
Oh,
and Ted controlled the theaters, but they were owned by United Artists. But anyway, one of the theaters there ran Gone with the Wind constantly, every day, 7 days a week.
I remember that.
They ran it twice a day, and they ran that down there for as long as he owned the theater.
And they had that little gift shop too, with all the Gone with the Wind memorabilia.
Well, it was called the Turner. It was the Turner store.
The Turner store.
And I've got a lot of memorabilia from the Turner store.
Now, CNN. Quickly, let's talk about the launch. We didn't mean to just glaze over that. In 1980, when CNN started, do you have any memories about that? Were you mentioned you're in a YouTube video?
Well, yeah,
that's out there.
To make a we were located on West Peachtree Street, downtown Atlanta. And then across the freeway was an old what do you call it? It was like a convention type place. It was a big house, and it was a sort of anyway. The place had been abandoned for years. They had homeless people living in it. Anyway, he bought it and refitted out and cleaned it up. That was at 1050 Techwood Drive. And so we moved Channel 17 over there, and then CNN was launched, and they were downstairs. We were upstairs, and downstairs was CNN and TNT. And so I got to know all the CNN people. That's back when CNN was a really good network. They were the only game in town.
Oh,
you didn't have Fox News.
The first
you didn't have
news.
Yeah,
24 hours a day, 7 days.
And so, and it was fun. There's a lot of good people that
had
worked
good journalism. They brought on Larry King.
Oh, Larry King.
King Live. I enjoyed that.
And so, and next to CNN downstairs was a place where we eat. We called it the side dish. And, it was really a nice area with a big atrium and big glass windows, and you could actually see inside.
What does that mean, the side dish?
It was the name of the place where we eat, just like
I understand,
like in Cumulus, it was a rising roll. It's
kind of an unusual name, like side dish.
Well, they sent out it says, let's name it. So that's the name everybody came up with. They call it the side dish because it was on the side of the building, and and then you had CNN, and then on the other side you had headline news.
Oh, duh, like a side of bacon, a side dish.
Right, it's a side dish. And so I used to sit with all the CNN people down. I used to eat lunch there every day.
The anchors?
Oh, the anchors. I know all the anchors, yeah. And so Bobby Batista and all these, all of these early people that were there.
My favorite CNN anchor, she's actually on Headline News, is Robin Meade. And she still looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't know, but last time I watched CNN Headline News, she would do the
I had a really good
show.
friend that worked at Headline News. In fact, he was the last one to leave there, Chuck Roberts.
And he was at News Radio at our radio station.
Yeah, and Chuck Roberts, he worked at Headline News forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the first ones, and he was there until, some years ago. And then he came to work for 106.7 News Radio back then that Chance and I was at. But, right. Chuck Roberts is a great guy. But, yeah, I knew all those people. It was fun.
They did a funny parody of the launch of CNN in the movie Anchorman 2. They called it GNN. And
Oh, of course they do.
you know, with the big hair and Ron Burgundy. I worked on that set just as an extra for like 14 days as one of the news people, but not a principal role, really nothing to write home about, but it was a heck of a lot of fun being on the set with all
Well, like I
those
said, you
actors.
know, working at Turner was the
Watching them
best
do
job
it.
I ever had. I really enjoyed myself. And the only reason I left is because when Ted, he thought he was merging with Time Warner. And
He got screwed.
He got screwed. He had 10% of the merged company, and then it went down to 3%. And then basically the stockholders booted him out. And so when he got booted out, I lasted maybe another 6 months, and then I got booted out. And so did a lot of other people. They got rid of some of the old hires there, and I was there 13 years. So I really enjoyed myself there for 13 years.
But now there were other networks that they launched over the years at Turner when Ted Turner was still in charge, like Turner South. Remember Turner South?
Yeah, the sports network.
And but I thought they had, before that there was Turner South and then Sports South, but Turner South actually had regular non-sports
Turner South, I
programming.
do believe that Tom would know this. I think they turned into Sports South.
Yes, they did. Sports South, that's correct.
And I think now Fox bought them after that. I think
Fox Sports
South owns it now. But this happened way after I left. But then they launched Turner Classic Movies.
Love it.
And I wish they'd had that when I worked there, but they launched that after I left.
And Tom Williams worked there, our own Tom Williams.
Yeah,
he interviewed Robert Mitchell, or he directed the interview.
He directed a lot of the interviews that Robert Osborne did at Turner Classic.
I loved him. He wrote for the National Enquirer of all things.
Robert Osborne I met many times because I collect projectors and stuff. They actually borrowed one of my old projectors from the 30s to do a promo with Robert Osborne. And for years, I used to see this promo with my projector with Robert Osborne. He was sitting there watching a reel of film, of course, and then they had the image up on the screen. But I watched them do that. But he was a good friend. He turned out to be a good friend, and it was really nice. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, those are Tom's stories to tell. I can't wait for him to call in and tell us about all those great interviews, or at least give us some sort of perspective on that. But Turner, he really made a difference. He gave like $1 billion to the UN. He had a global initiative. Now some say he's a globalist or whatever, but I think the man is a genius, and I wish him continued good health and success, because he brought me a lot of happiness growing up, watching WTCG, WTBS, the Superstation, watching The Space Giants, a Japanese show shot in 1966, Magma Tashi's the original name. Anyway, I'm putting everyone to sleep. I love the show. I have all 52 episodes. I wish I bought your films when you had them on film, Al.
I had so many films, but I just had to get,
like Godzilla.
It was just taking up too much space. I mean, my basement, you couldn't even walk down there. So I just had to get rid of all that.
And you had lost English tracks because they've lost. The distributor at the time was Lakeside Entertainment, and they folded. They were out of New York City. Yeah. And so no one can find the full English translations. All that survive are like Betamax tapes of the old WTCG TBS recordings from 1979 to 1981. That's all.
Well, some of that stuff is still around. Some of that stuff is still around. People have it.
I've been looking for years on eBay. You never can find Space Giants. Someone's just sitting on that whole library, your library, that you sold to Tom Hudgens when he was still alive.
I didn't care for the show.
He passed away, right? Tom Hudgens, I know that. And so I wonder what happened to those films. Was he married or anything? Did he have a wife?
Yes, he was, but
she might have sold him.
He probably sold him. Who knows? But we're digressing.
We digress, like always. And hey, Turner, we got to talk about World Championship Wrestling. I love the wrestling they had on TBS.
They taped every Tuesday.
Yeah, and last time you told your story about he went into the locker room by mistake.
Now let's not go back there again.
But I liked Mr. Wrestling #2, Tommy Wildfire Rich, Andre the Giant, the Mad Dog. Oh man, Junkyard Dog. I keep saying
I never was a fan, but they were nice people. They really were. Gordon Soley and all. I mean, they were all nice people. It's theatrics.
Yeah. And that Gordon Soley, who was the straight man, he was the reporter on the scene, doing the play-by-play, blow-by-blow accounts. And Bill Tush will talk about that. And of course, the Bill Tush
I'll be the first to say it's fake.
But they didn't have blood like Extreme Championship Wrestling, which came along later in the late 90s. Very brutal wrestling. I love digressing again, but I love it when someone gets hit in the head with a guitar and this powder goes everywhere. And
that's true.
ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, did that. And those kind of graphics and effects and blood. And Oh man.
But I didn't care for it. I could hear him in there recording on Tuesday, but I just
I was a little kid. Little kids like me love
I just
that
went
stuff.
about my business. But they had an audience. They had, they gave tickets away. You could show up and sit there, So.
I know. I always wanted to go and see a taping. And then Tush, Bill Tush himself, we'll ask him some questions later in the show about the Tush show. But I watch that every week. Funny comedy show. Jan Hooks was on it, and other talented people that went on to do other things in the entertainment industry. So it'll be great when we have Bill Tush here on the show, and we thank Bill for his time.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to him. We need to go see him. I hadn't seen him in a while. Since we stopped working, I just don't get up in that area of the country anymore. I never go downtown Atlanta anymore, even though he's in Sandy Springs, which is right off, probably 10 miles from downtown. But
remember Captain Planet that Ted Turner launched?
I do.
To create awareness about the environment. Yeah. And hey, we got to talk about Cartoon Network. What a big acquisition that was, and a big launch.
Well, he bought Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought that.
And he colorized movies. We're sort of jumping around in the timeline.
Well, I was there when they launched Cartoon Network.
You were?
Yes, I was.
With the Space Ghost?
Yes, I was there.
They had like a dude in the Space Ghost outfit, an actor.
Oh,
because he's a cartoon.
Know. I mean,
anyway,
I don't know. I mean, I was just there when they launched it. You're asking me questions. I don't know. I didn't care for Cartoon Network. I like cartoons, but I never really watched it. They were downstairs next to CNN, but I just never paid much attention to it.
I liked it because, we're different generations, but they would play the Super Friends reruns that I liked a lot. That's the DC characters, Batman, Superman, the Hall of Justice.
And of course, later on, they launched Adult Swim.
Yes, Adult Swim. And that's to this day, big hits, big ratings.
Yeah, I could watch that probably.
A lot of viral stuff coming out of Cartoon Network these days in Adult Swim. But I loved watching the old Super Friends. Wonder Twin powers activate, form of an icicle, shape of a clown.
I had friends, of course. I knew the guy that ran Cartoon Network, but I've got a bunch of DVDs in there that he gave me years ago. I went to see him it's been 10 years ago. I went up there to see everybody. And he gave me, I got box sets of the Squidbillies and all this other stuff that Adult Swim does. I've never looked at them.
By the way,
I'll trade them to you for something.
Let's do it. I've got a lot of collectibles I can trade you.
It to you. I've never looked at them.
Speaking of equipment and stuff, folks, Al, I won't go into details, but Al has upgraded this studio. His home studio. It's going to be incredible. We
haven't upgraded it yet.
We're probably not going to do a show next week.
If things go well, I'm going to, everything that you see here is coming out. I'm redoing it. And I bought some new equipment. I got a deal on. I got a new digital console coming and some other things. So my engineer buddy is going to come, next weekend.
But what's cool is you're going to be able to have 5 microphones hooked up to your board, and you can take phone calls through the landline like a real radio station.
Well,
it's cool.
We won't go into all of that, but we'll do it. So anyway, that'll happen next weekend. Well, last weekend of the month. So we'll see.
Well, if you guys want to call in and talk about your memories of Ted Turner,
we're not taking calls today.
Well,
we're not taking calls today.
Oh, never mind.
You just jumping all over the place.
I wanted to do music part 2, but then when I realized this is our 17th show, I thought in honor of Superstation 17, let's talk about Ted Turner a little bit. Now, you got to have some memories about Ted himself. Did you meet him? Was there like a company function, like a team building event, or
many times?
anything stick out in your mind?
When I was a switcher, working in the mornings, running the show, he would come down. He had his own apartment there on West Peachtree Street. A lot of times he'd spend the night. But I remember a few times, he came down one morning and he had his bathrobe on and a cup of coffee. Uh-huh. And he sat there with me, and I worked with a guy named John. And so he sat there with me and John and watched us do our thing. He says, "All right, fellas, talk to you later." And he went back upstairs and got dressed. But he's
just one of the guys.
Oh yeah, he was. That was in the early days, way before CNN and stuff. But no, even after all of that, I'd see him all the time.
It's funny. He had a nice accent. He was born in Ohio though, but he lived in the South. I think he was raised in the South, so he developed a pretty cool Southern accent.
And after he married Jane Fonda, I used to see Jane Fonda all the time.
Yeah,
You know,
boy.
but she was always nice to me. We won't go into all of that.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah,
About
yeah,
the haters and
she made some mistakes, but she was always very nice to me. I can't say anything bad about her, I guess.
You told a funny story once, I think offline, about how you wanted her autograph. She goes, "It's not Barbarella, is it? Tell me."
Well,
it's not
no.
Barbarella."
I asked her one day. I saw her, and I said, "I have a poster. I'd like to have you autograph for me." She said, "Sure." She says, "As long as it's not Barbarella." And I said, "Well, I love that movie Barbarella, but she's not very fond of it anymore." And so, but I didn't take her. I have that poster, like I mentioned before, but I took her another poster called "Comes a Horseman." She did with Jason Robards, because I like westerns, and she signed that for me. I'll show it to you. I've never showed it to you. Have it? It's in the other room in there. But anyway, like I said, she was very nice to me.
One thing that Turner did, I was talking to our friend Ryan, who's a contributor of the show, and he reminded me about the 5 minutes after the hour. What a brilliant programming move that was.
Well, he didn't start that originally. I mean, he did, but in the beginning it was everything was on the hour.
Like 7:05, 7:35.
Well, no, he would start everything on the hour. And then later on, he decided, since everybody else was starting on the hour, he would start 5 past the hour to give people that didn't want to watch whatever they were watching to go to channel 17 and catch his show from the beginning. So that was the reasoning behind that.
That's smart. It's counter programming.
We called it Turner time.
Turner time.
Yeah, Turner time.
And you got all sorts of cool stuff here, like coffee mugs. I mean,
I got lots of stuff from
signs.
Turner. I've got, and Tom,
And so Tom, I was just going to say,
Tom's got a ton of stuff from Turner.
He has a big Cartoon Network
Oh
sign.
yeah, I tried to talk him out of that, and he won't give it to me.
It's got like the checkered flag logo.
Yeah. He's got a lot of good Turner stuff, but he won't give it to me. I don't blame him. I wouldn't give it to him, give it away either. So there you go. But we had a good time. It was fun.
I bet it was.
It's hard to believe I've been gone almost 30 years from that place.
Well, in a little while, Tom will call in. He's working
at the
Weather Channel
he better
today.
Call in. Hey, Tom, call in if you're going to call in. He's working at the Weather Channel. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we wait for Tom, why don't you play our interview with our special guest, Mr. Bill Tush?
Well, we can do that.
And don't you have a musical interlude that should strike people's memories? You don't have to play it now unless you want to put it in post, but there's a piece of music.
Well, it's Turner created a cool logo. We called it the cigar logo, and had a great theme. And when he bought the MGM library, they always put that logo before the MGM Lion. In any Turner product, you saw this logo, and this was the music. I'll play it for you here. Hang on a second.
And that logo is still seen to this day on MeTV's reruns of the Flintstones that they got from Ted Turner and Cartoon Network.
Here it is.
Very nice, sir. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about. It pertains to last week's show and something that's pretty cool that I spotted on the Conan O'Brien show. But one more thing, not the Conan O'Brien clip. Do you have our one more thing music, Al Hardy?
One more thing.
One more thing. It's right there on your screen. I'll give you a second.
Let me see. Yeah, I do have it, don't I? Huh?
From the top, please.
That's all right.
No, from the top, please. You missed it. It was
a
a little late.
You're hard to get along with.
Thank you, Al. So what happened was, as you know, most of these podblasts are opened by our friend Al Hardy, and he says, "Hey guys, you know what time it is? It's Podblast time." And we all say, "It's Podblast time." Well, I was watching Conan O'Brien. One of his writers must listen to this very Podblast, because check this out from Thursday night.
Andy, you really don't know anything about sports, do you? Not at all, Conan. Then you know what time it is. I sure do. That's right. It's time for Andy Richter's Sports Blast. Welcome to Sports Blast. Let's blast some sports.
Can you believe that?
I am flattered. See, look, we helped a writer put some extra money in their pocket. We helped them get an extra tank of gas or whatever they get paid for their Lamborghini. So that was pretty cool. I was
What happened to your mic?
I don't know. Oh, it fell down.
Oh, there you go.
How's that?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, geez, I was off mic that whole time. Anyway, that aired on Thursday, January 16th on, of all things, TBS. So see how we're going full circle? That airs on TBS. But Turner, not to be a little sad and depressing, but as we all know, Ted made a terrible deal with that AOL Time Warner merger, and Al spoke to that briefly previously in this very PodBlast. But he lost ownership. It cost him ownership of the Atlanta Braves, the Atlanta Hawks, all of those assets, the MGM library. He put all of his eggs in one basket, didn't he, Al?
But my mic is messed up. I gotta get this. I'll be glad when I get some new equipment in here. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, let's go talk to Bill Tush. Okay. Now what's wrong with this stupid thing? Keeps.
Okay, so how long have we gone now? Is it 30 minutes?
35 minutes.
And the interview's 33 with Bill Tush.
Yeah.
So we'll just go a few minutes more and wrap it up.
Let's see.
Everybody in Facebook Live land, again, we wanted to do 2 shows today. This one and then one about music part 2, because there's so much I didn't cover. And really, I wanted Tom's perspective. And he may not be able to call in. He just texted me. I said, call us, Tom. And he said, can't. Sorry. So he must be busy at the Weather Channel. But maybe he'll call in. I'll find something else to talk about to give him time to join our PodBlast party, as it were. All right. Let me know when you're ready, and we'll pick up an interview.
So what did you want to talk about?
Just, I'll wrap it up. You just point at me when we're rolling again.
Make.
Yo. Check.
I don't know what in the heck.
Can you hear my mic at all?
What?
Now I can hear it.
Now I got you up there now. Okay.
All right.
I think I've got a loose connection here. Either that or it's in the console, but I'm getting a new console. I should put a picture of the console up on the, anyway. All right, folks. The Bill Tush part, we recorded earlier today, so I'm going to edit that in.
Talk to the camera. You're talking to the camera now, aren't you?
No, I'm just talking. But anyway, I'll edit that in later.
Okay. Well, let me know when we're rolling now on after the interview.
And let's see. All right. All right, we're back after listening to Bill Tush and his great stories. He's a good friend, and I've known him a long time, since 1976. So we're old friends, and he still lives here, and it was good to talk to him today.
Absolutely. And we welcome him back anytime.
Well, what I'm going to do, I want to get him in the studio sometime once I get everything redone, and he's going to come pay us a visit. But we got to go pay him a visit and go watch a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's actually working, because he loves movies like I do. He works at the Sandy Springs Cinema and Tap Room. That's, so Chance and I used to go watch
the Tap House.
We used to go watch movies there when we worked at the radio station. But it's like a couple of blocks away, maybe half a mile. I don't know what it was. But we have been there since then. And
there's exciting stuff we can't really announce now, but Al and I will be working together in radio very soon. But
yeah, that'll be nice.
That's going to drop later on. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Well, so anyway, it was good to talk to Bill and good to have him here on the show.
Yeah, and Ted Turner, he really revolutionized not just television, but he made a difference. That man really made a difference. He put his money where his mouth is. And, he was coined the mouth of the South because of his controversial statements. I think he's an atheist, too, and he's a very unique
I would
person.
say that. I mean, you don't need to be talking about people's religion.
No,
I don't know that.
He talks about that himself. You go back and look at interviews on YouTube.
But, I just, I don't care.
It's just a trait.
Think about this. Here I am. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I don't care what your your sexual preferences. I don't care what religion you are.
Well, you make it sound like I was insulting him or something. I'm just
no, I didn't mean
I'm
to
just
say
describing
that.
the man. That's
I
all.
just, you know,
Like, I worship Ted Turner now.
people are people, and you know, so let them live their lives the way they want to live it. I don't care.
Well
it
said.
doesn't bother me one way or the other.
Very well said.
Yeah,
Very
so,
well said.
But anyway,
What is up with my mic today? It keeps like dropping down.
It keeps losing its heart on, kind of like.
What,
Never mind.
What the hell?
I just like, you know.
Woo! Your mind's in the gutter, sir.
I'll have to adjust that. But anyway,
so no show next week, most likely. When we come back, Tom will be with us, and we'll talk about music again.
Well, if
part
everything
2.
goes right, next weekend I'll be working in here with my engineer friend Bill. He's going to come. He lives he lives in Asheville. He lives in Asheville, and he's going to be coming through Georgia, and he's going to come by and help me set up.
Very cool. And again, always check out our Facebook page if you want to see a video of this very PodBlast. Sorry. It's Facebook, and our group is Nostalgic PodBlast with one word. I know I'm repeating myself, but PodBlast, one word. Nostalgic PodBlast. Got it? And we're on Twitter, and I'm setting up an Instagram and a YouTube as we grow. And the downloads have been outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our last show with Ryan Settles, our special guest, wow. We've had some
and
good
we're on,
numbers.
like, you know, we're on, let's see, we're on
Stitcher.
Spotify, and we're on Stitcher, and
iTunes.
and SoundCloud. So we're around.
That's the one I distribute is SoundCloud. It seems to be easiest. You know, you just hit the
that's
play button.
yeah, that's the host actually.
You don't need to download an app or anything.
No,
you just hit the little play button.
Yeah.
And you know, well, I'm so excited about some things. There's a chance if you're in Atlanta, you'll hear us somewhere else, but we'll talk about it later, won't we?
All right, we have to go. It's been a long day.
Been a long day, and we got to go check on that house across the street, make sure it's still standing. Thanks for watching, Facebook Live viewers, and listen to the show so you hear the Bill Tush interview. We'll have it up probably by Monday night.
I'll have it
Tuesday
ready.
morning.
I'll have it ready tomorrow.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, have a great week. I hope your team wins today. If you're watching live on Sunday, we got the NFL playoffs going on, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. All right, that is done. Let me save this. We're still on.
Bill Tush saved that show because I thought
We're still on
I was
live
boring.
Facebook.
That's
Let's
cool.
see.
I thought I was really boring this week.
What?
I thought I was very boring. Bill Tush saved the show, and you did too, sir.
No, I don't know about that.
Well, it's like the old days where it's just you and me, right? Like in the first 2 podcasts where it was just us.
No, I wish Tom could have called him. He must have got busy because he normally works at the Weather Channel, is off on the weekends, but he.
If he calls in, we can always edit that into the show. You know, if he calls in the next couple minutes or so.
Yeah, I doubt he'll have a chance.
Hey, tell the live viewers what this flashing light is. This
What?
Tell the Facebook live viewers what this flashing light is.
I need to turn your mic back on. I had your mic on.
Okay.
No, they can hear you though.
Okay. Yeah, I have a loud ass voice. That's why. What is this flashing light behind me, Al?
Yeah, you know, you have a loud voice to be a little guy.
I have to compensate.
Chance is very short.
Napoleon complex.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, any psychologist or psychiatrist will tell you I have to overcompensate for my lack of. I'm only 5'5".
You know, I have in my car, I have Bluetooth, and I can hook my phone to it, and you know, Siri will talk to me. Like, you know, I'll say, "Call Chance Bartles." She says, "Calling Chance Bartles."
Oh, like Bartles and James, the wine.
Yeah, she says calling.
Wrong.
She didn't say Bartels. She said calling Chance Bartles. I mean,
Bartles.
Bartles.
Yeah, because it's Bartels, like a drunk in a bar being loud. Kind of a fitting name. Bartels. He tells a story at the bar while he's getting shit faced or whatever. Excuse my language. So, wow.
Anyway, what did you ask me? We asked people.
I asked you about this beacon. Oh, I gave away what it is. What is this?
Oh,
flashing
the red
light?
light back there. I thought I'd turn it on. It's that's an actual beacon from a radio tower. You know, when you know, at night you have the flashing light, the red light on top of the tower.
Right. Yeah,
well, that's an actual beacon right there.
That's pretty damn cool. And I thought it really created a great effect with the fire across the street. It looks like a fire truck.
I had to refit it because, you know, for radio stations, it has a 600-watt bulb in it. You know, if I plugged in a 600-watt bulb here at the house, it would just blow my panel out, you know. So what I did, I went in there and went to Home Depot and got light bulb fixtures for regular light bulbs. And there's one in the top, one in the bottom, and I just refitted everything and put regular 60-watt bulbs in there. And it's also in the bottom. It's got a flasher. That's what makes it flash.
Man, that's so
Yeah.
cool. It's amazing the technical skill.
Anything it has to do with radios and movies and stuff. I just been a pack rat.
And that's one of your strongest skill sets. You're great with machinery.
That beacon actually came from a radio station here in Atlanta. It came from 920 AM. It's
the talk of the town?
No, they're owned by Salem.
Oh, that's right.
You know, they call it The Answer.
Oh yeah, The Answer. And that's still around. And
The Answer.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a talk station. But anyway, I knew the engineer over there, Bob.
How many watts do they have, by the way? 920.
12,000.
No, it's very low power.
12,000 a day, 450 at night. But
That's
anyway,
nothing,
Bob says, you know, I went out there to the transmitter site and they were replacing all of the incandescent bulbs, and that's incandescent, with LEDs, because see, you know, LEDs will last forever, and then they have to pay somebody to climb the towers to change those bulbs. If they put the LEDs in there, they last years and years and years. And so normally when they get rid of those beacons, they just push them off the tower and let them fall, and they just, you know, shatter. And so I said, can you save me one? And so the tower crew, actually, I was there. They were so cool. They actually took the beacon off, but they lowered it down with a rope real easy to down this 450-foot tower, and they saved it for me. I thought I was out there watching them do it.
You've got friends in high places.
You know, so, and they gave it to me. I didn't have to buy it. They just said, you can have it. And so if they give me stuff, I'll take it. But I've always wanted the beacon anyway, so I got it.
Can we have multiple cameras in here?
Yeah,
Is that possible?
We can do that.
We could set one up for YouTube and one for Facebook Live, couldn't we? Oh, he's busy. Okay, that's just Tom. He's not going to be able to call in. I was trying to keep the lines of communication open so Tom could say his piece. He's busy making money at the Weather Channel.
Anyway,
yeah, we got some big shows coming up. You know,
let me see who tuned
I didn't
in.
tell
Let me
you.
see.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that Ryan thought of a good topic for down the road. Al,
Well, see,
how about this?
Well, Ryan's actually watching.
Yeah, he said he was leaving comments or something.
Ryan and...
Is Jim Narcos on there?
Edwin Bennett, a friend of mine. Tom's on. Mark, Ryan, David Meadows, a friend of mine. Mark Lee Crawford, Alan Duncan, a radio friend of mine. Shannon.
Well, we hope we entertained you. I feel like I was really dull this week. I'm passionate about the subject matter, but
Yeah, Jim Narcos was still watching.
cool. I'm passionate about Ted Turner and what he brought to the world. I think he was just an innovator, of course, a philanthropist, great guy. And, you know, we didn't mention to Bill Tush. Maybe Bill would. You cut my mic.
No, I didn't. You're on.
Can you hear me?
I just cut mine down.
Oh, well, I was going to say he was out there for Ted Turner's big birthday, his 80th birthday. They flew Bill Tush
Yeah,
out
his
there.
80th birthday. You're right.
And I think it was in Montana. And we didn't talk about the Montana Grill, his restaurant.
Well, Ted's
chain.
Montana. I've never been to Ted's Montana.
I haven't
Grill.
either. I have one right around the corner.
I've never
from
been
it.
to one.
We should go.
Well, there's one out
Get some
here.
bison. Let's go.
There's one out here.
Let's
Well,
go.
I don't like bison.
What, have you tried it?
No.
Then how do you know you don't like it?
Well, Tom says he tried it. Said it's kind of gamey. I don't like gamey tasting meat.
I'm going to try it.
Now, you'll eat anything.
I've never had venison in my life.
I have. Well, I have. I didn't
never
like
had
it.
deer
I
meat.
didn't like it. You know, I don't like eating Bambi anyway.
I feel like I'm eating a horse or something if I eat deer. I don't know.
I don't know. Folks, I'm not a big meat eater. I don't eat a lot of meat.
You don't like red meat. You like chicken.
I
and
like
seafood.
chicken and I like fish. I grew up on the beach. So I like fish.
Well,
I like seafood.
listen to this. For a future PodBlast, Ryan Settles thought of a great topic. Get this.
Pull your mic back up, please.
Hey, I don't know why it's falling. I'm not hitting it. Anyway,
It's just I gotta tighten it up.
Ryan Settles thought of a great topic for a future PodBlast. Thank you, sir. Think of it. Listen to this one. Old/stupid jobs you've had throughout your life, starting when you were like a teenager. As soon as you get, I think that's a cool topic.
I never had a
For
stupid
calls
job.
especially.
I never had a
I'm
stupid
not saying
job.
you did. I did. And
What?
we'll save it for the show. I've
Well,
had
give me a
several stupid.
What was the
jobs.
first job you ever had you got a paycheck?
I worked at a baseball card shop in the corner comic book shop when I was 15. Actually, I wasn't legally able to drive. Got paid me under the table,
Yeah.
and Dad would drive me there every weekend, and it was great. It was, I got to work in a little comic book shop. I'm a geek. I was in heaven. I'd buy at a discount the latest comic books that week, and this is
The
like
first job I ever had was a movie usher at a theater.
that's not a stupid job.
Well, no, I
Like you're
love that
saying.
job.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old. It was my first job.
I'm going to save it for the show, and you know, we'll have Ryan back for that one for sure whenever we do it. But I'm super excited about so much going on right now, and we have a lot cooking, and this equipment you got, it's just phenomenal. I mean, you have a real studio.
Well, the equipment I bought is actually in the other room. In the other room, we picked it up yesterday.
You did with Tom.
Yes, with Tom and I went because Tom got some. Anyway,
I got some microphones.
He got my, but I got a nice digital console, and I got a Telos unit and some other things. So it'll happen next week. Can I show my picture of? Can I pick it Sonny up? Show everybody.
Yeah, for the camera.
Yeah.
Look at Sonny, the Cocker Spaniel. He's so cute and well behaved and clean. He got a dip.
This has been the best dog I've ever had. I've had 3 Cocker Spaniels, and Sonny's the best. He doesn't bark. He doesn't bother you. Let's see over here. Look at
Hold him up.
Let me hold him up. There he is.
Wait for the camera, Sonny.
Sonny.
Excuse me.
There he is. He's a good dog.
And he loves popcorn. And he's always,
He loves popcorn.
like all dogs, he's always hungry.
He came from Fort Valley, Georgia. You ever heard of Fort Valley? It's just down below Macon.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's where he came from.
Military town, obviously.
Yeah, well, how I found him was
Fort
I was
Richard.
just looking online to after my other dog died. I waited a couple of months, and I was looking online to the AJC, and the first Cocker Spaniel I saw that I liked was Sonny. And so
Was he a rescue or anything like that?
no,
or-
he was 7 weeks old, and so and I like rescues too. But anyway, I called the lady up and cut a deal, and me and my friend Marty went down there that weekend and picked him up. Good dog.
Well, if Bill Tush is out there, you saved us this week because we lost Tom. He got his schedule mixed up, and he thought he'd be here, and then he wasn't going to be here, and really wanted Tom's input for the Turner side. So, you know, obviously I was stretching because it was, you know, Tom has a lot of stories to tell on that subject of Ted Turner and the Turner days, especially the Turner Classic Movies interview.
He'll be here back in 2 weeks if we don't do one next week.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
he'll be-
We'll see. So offline, but you can keep my mic on.
Oh, yeah.
Some guys coming next weekend to install everything, correct? That's the plan at this,
That'll,
at this stage.
that'll take a day, but we'll see how it goes. It depends on when he finishes, actually.
And 5 mics. My gosh. Golly, we could be like the Eric Van Loser show on WBS in Atlanta.
Yeah. But
All those
anyway.
people talking at the same time. But good deal, man. We'll and then see, you're gonna hate this idea, but
What?
when we do the music part 2, I do want to cover music videos because that was a big part of history. And you know, the first one was HBO Video Jukebox before MTV.
I
and
do not remember that.
I do because we subscribed to, my dad subscribed to HBO, so I had that.
Well,
growing
Ted
up.
Turner started one called Night Tracks.
Yes.
Remember Night Tracks?
What year would that be for historical reasons?
It was in the 80s. I don't know.
Okay, so MTV was probably already out. MTV launched in
It was
81.
probably around, I don't know, what, 88, 89, something like that.
I got a whole list of favorite music videos. My gosh, like Hot for Teacher, Van Halen. Oh man, we'll talk about it in our music. Oh, there was one that Asia did I liked. I might as well just talk about it now.
No, Asia did a great
Don't-
song called No, Heat of the Moment.
Yeah, that was a good video.
That's a great song.
one of the earliest music videos I remember, but really Queen did it before MTV, a music video for Bohemian Rhapsody and Killer Queen in like 74. So like there were bands out there doing music videos, even going back to the Beatles, those movies like Magical Mystery Tour, Hard Day's Night. I guess you could consider those music videos.
The
but they really
Beatles
were
actually
movies.
started that.
Yeah.
With their movies, Hard Day's Nights, and you had Yellow Submarine, and
Magical Mystery Tour.
all that stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, they really started that.
And who directed Hard Day's Night? Richard Lester, who went on to do The Three Musketeers and Superman 2 and Superman 3 with
The
Christopher
Three
Reeve.
Musketeers is one of my favorite movies. It had Richard Chamberlain, Oliver Reed. Let's see, who else was in that? Some good people. I've got a print of it, 16 millimeter.
We should have been rolling this. We're having some good off-the-cuff discussion here, and it's going to be exclusive to our Facebook Live audience.
We can always do it later.
Yeah, well, we will. We got a lot of big shows coming up. By the way, Correction Corner. You don't have to hit the music because we're not rolling, but you had asked who did the music for the movie Cocoon.
Was it
Remember?
Alan Silvestri?
No, I remember I said it's either Alan Silvestri or Bill Conti. No.
Yeah.
It was James Horner who did Star Trek 2,
Oh, that's a great
The Wrath
score.
of Khan, Titanic.
That's a great score.
He's very underrated, James Horner.
It's a great, it's a great score. I like that movie.
So next time I'll do that. I want to do a real like correction corner because I hate to say anything that's incorrect.
You do that all the time. You never notice.
I-
Tom and I don't do correction corner. You do.
You know what? And I'm prepared for this show. I don't know what my problem is, man.
Well, you
But-
get sidetracked.
Get sidetracked.
Well,
Oh man, so many good records too, and weird bands like Go West. They did a song "We Close Our Eyes." They were a one-hit wonder, but I like that '80s song. And I should have pushed back on you when you said, the '80s that was the worst decade.
it
For
was. It was a
music.
terrible decade.
I don't know. I thought there was some real good stuff out of the '80s, but
I didn't care for it.
I'm not saying it's better than the '60s. I'm just saying that there was groundbreaking music in the '80s. But
I got tired of hearing
what?
during the '80s, Hall and Oates. I get so tired of hearing that stuff. I mean,
Well, that's who Bill Tush referenced them today as being in the studio.
I mean, what Your Kiss is on my list, and what they did
Private Eyes.
Private Eyes. They did one called
She's Gone, Sarah Smile.
Sarah
In the
Smile.
70s, yeah.
That was one of the guy's girlfriends or something.
I like that song, but yeah,
I like Sarah Smile.
they jumped the shark. There was a point in time where they definitely jumped the shark. But I like.
You know who I liked?
But can I say one before I forget? I like their version of "You Lost That Love and Feeling." I know you'll like the original.
No, I like actually
the
that's
Hall and
okay.
Oates, and they played it. I saw it in concert a couple years ago, and they still
Well,
sound
the Righteous
good.
Brothers still have the hit on it. They were the best.
But I like the Hall and Oates version the best. When I was a kid, we'd roller skate, and there'd be a couple skate at the skating rink, and they'd always play. When I was a youngster, "You've Lost That Loving Feeling." That was one of the classic couple skate songs, and just brings back a lot of good memories.
Did you ever like Leo Sayer?
I did.
You Make Me Feel Like Dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I like his music. Yeah.
When I Need You.
That's a good song.
He has a lot of good songs. He did a version of Endless Flight that I like.
Whatever happened to Leo Sayer?
He's British,
I know, but whatever happened? They just disappeared.
Man, I don't know, but there's so many good British bands. Well, there's so much music.
I did like Foreigner from the 80s. They were okay.
They're on tour, by the way. I saw an ad. They're coming. I can't believe they're advertising this soon. They're coming in September to Atlanta. September 1st.
The Eagles are coming here, but you seen the ticket prices for the Eagles?
It's not the original. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Well, it's got a few of the original, but they
no.
People pay that kind of money to see them? No way.
They're overpaid. I would go though. I wanted to see them that same year. I saw Paul McCartney. They were at. We talked about last week when I got pulled on stage.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Pink Floyd, Billy Squier. I mean, man. Oh, okay. Yeah, Foreigner is touring with Kansas and Europe.
Carry On Wayward Son.
Love that song.
Mhm.
Now, do you remember Europe's big hit? They're kind of a one-hit wonder.
Who?
Europe, the band Europe. They were on tour with Foreigner and Kansas. I'll give you a hint. It was a song that the old 106.7 played a lot in the countdown to the takeover of our station.
What was it?
It's the final countdown. Remember that stupid song? That's Europe.
No.
You have not heard that song?
I may have heard it, but I don't remember it.
Just like Ryan was saying, I'm sure you've heard Rush songs.
It's forgettable.
No, it's been used in movies and stuff.
Well,
I disagree.
I'm sure it has.
But I was going to say, there's so many bands. Like, you don't like Van Halen? You don't like their version of Pretty Woman, the Roy Orbison hit?
It's okay. It's all right.
Eddie Van Halen's a great guitarist. Oh my God! Remember Billy Squier, The Stroke?
Yeah.
Man, I like that song.
That's not too bad.
My Kind of Lover, Billy Squier.
No.
He was a fan of Queen and friend of Freddie Mercury.
You still listen to the disco channel in the car?
No, I'm listening to 70s right now. Howard Stern a little bit. I'm branching out as I learn. I'm still stuck in
Chance is just
terrestrial
a
land.
disco queen's all he is.
No. I beg your pardon, sir.
So, I like some of the disco music. Hey,
There's one song. No one out there. I don't know why I even waste my time because I'm going to sound like an even bigger freak than I already do. But there was a band called Meco, M-E-C-O, and they did a disco Star Wars record that I loved as a kid. I had the 45 of it.
I think I remember that.
I kept leaving it in my mom's car and it would melt.
Yeah.
Funny story about mom I thought about, by the way. She used to have, remember when Coca-Cola and Pepsi came in glass bottles, like 8-ounce, 12-ounce bottles? They've had to come back now from Mexico. They're bottled in Mexico. Yeah. Well, she taught at Sugar Hill Elementary in North Georgia, and they had a big roach infestation in that school. And I remember I'd step on the roaches. It was so nasty. You see that white gut to be like standing out on a Mounds bar. And where the coconut, but it was like roach. Anyway, it's so gross. Mom sat down. I'll never forget this. I was in the faculty lounge because I was in readiness, which is like pre-first grade. Yeah. She was teaching there back in a long time ago. And she sat her Coke bottle down and a roach crawled in it. And she took a sip of the Coke, felt something rolling around in her mouth. She spit it out, and there was a roach on its back with its little legs going, and I saw it. So since then, I've always had a thing about roaches. I don't mind spiders, snakes, but I hate roaches.
You want to hear a good roach story? This was back when I was a teenager working at the theater in my hometown. And back then, the popcorn, today they have popcorn usually in bags. Or cup.
Or a box. It used to be in a box.
But we had them in a box back, like
a Cracker Jack box, but bigger.
It was bigger. They were in a box. But we would pre-fill them and then keep them in the warmer to keep them hot. Anyway, I remember one day I was there. I'd never forget this. This lady come back out. She was just looked all distraught, and she was just like, and she had the popcorn in her hand. She says, "There's a roach in my popcorn." And she had put her hand in there, and there it was, a big old roach that is in her popcorn. I guess I didn't fill that box. I guess when they just didn't see it, he had gotten in the popcorn, and
oh, that's nasty. Dude.
I don't think she ate it, but she was just all upset.
You know the show Stranger Things on Netflix, right?
I watched the first 2 seasons. It was filmed here.
Well, I lived it along with Danny and Ryan and all that. And I got to tell you something. I've been baptized, so I've been forgiven for this sin, but this is terrible.
But you need to go to confession like I do.
I went to a movie years ago called Under the Rainbow with Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher. It's about the filming of Wizard of Oz, and it had all these little people, Billy Barty's in it. And we were in the theater, and this girl kept talking, and I said, "Will you please shut up?" Shh. And she goes, "No," and mouthed off at me. And she had a Cabbage Patch adoption doll with her.
Right.
I went to the bathroom, poured out my Coke, peed in my cup, and I poured my pee all over the girl and her damn doll. Isn't that horrible? And then I ran out.
You actually did that?
I did that because she was so mean to me. And isn't that terrible? I can't believe. I don't think I'd say this on our actual PodBlast, but I did. I poured urine all over her and her doll. And that's awful.
That's disgusting.
I was just a terrible kid. Terrible.
I never was that bad.
Well, she was very, very rude when I asked her. I actually asked her nicely, "Could you please stop talking?" And
yeah, but sometimes you rub people raw. I know how you are. You not raw, but wrong way.
Yeah. And that fire really freaked me out, and it made me think of the song by Jimi Hendrix. It's a B-side song. Someone's house is burning down, 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 down.
Well, there was a disco song called "Burn the House Down."
I'm not making light of it, by the way, because we know no one was hurt. No animals were injured. Everyone's okay. I'm certainly really sad for those people, and they rent the house.
Yeah,
but still,
I mean, it doesn't matter if you rent or buy.
No, you lose your
property burns and
your
stuff burns. It sucks.
That's one of my biggest fears, man.
Yeah,
biggest fears. That's why you got to have good insurance.
Well, I have that because I had that tree fall on my house.
All right, well,
all right, we need to wrap it up.
Let's cut the video.
We talked too long, but anyway.
Well, it'll be a good show. Listen for Bill Tush. Al will have it ready, by tomorrow night? Maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Good. And then we'll drop it. But we got a brand new show right here on our Facebook page. Last week's show with Ryan Settles, our guest. And we're talking about music. I think you'll like it. So right. It's there, but there's no video. It's just the audio. So
all right. We'll probably see you in 2 weeks, I guess. All right.
Hey, man, I'm a phone call away or a text away.
All right.
Motor Mouth.
Later.
That's me.
Bye.
Bye. Did you record that?
It's on Facebook.
Is there a way to extract the audio from Facebook? See y'all.